Pleasant salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to first and foremost sincerely thank you for sparing me your time during this discussion on potential resources to improve the country's tourism appeal. The reason I stand here before you is because I strongly believe that the tourism industry that you all manage and oversee can be greatly benefited from greater implementation of animated media. Now, before I actually move on to the meat of what I'm here to talk to you about, I would like to first show you a brief video clip. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is but a fraction of what animation is truly capable of. A fraction of what all of you here in this very room could be using for advertisements, marketing, campaigns, and the like. Visually, it's stunning. And yet, whether driving along the road or walking down the streets, every stranger or acquaintance who has asked me, "What do you do for a living?" has had no idea what animation was. Not a single soul knew that what I just showed you was something that animation was even remotely capable of. Now, as a professional freelance animator for almost 10 years, it pains me every time I have to try and dumb down this great thing so that people can understand. Now, changing that is why I stand here before you today. Given the versatility that exists in animation, there are a number of ventures that can be benefited from in regard to Jamaica's tourism industry once more of its citizens are made aware of the art form and its potential value in an international and cross-industrial setting. So, I'm here today to help you understand the animation that is used around the world, the animation that your children obsess over and mimic on TV, the animation that I love so very much. And to accomplish this, there are three focus points that I will be discussing. Firstly, I will briefly elaborate on what animation is and give some popular examples so as to not confuse anyone. Secondly, I will go on to describe 2D animation to give you an idea of just how varied your options are in terms of its actual use. Finally, I will contrast it with the visually distinct 3D animation to accentuate the differences and showcase how and where each one can actually best serve the different industries. Now, let's start with the roots of it all. What is this fascinating thing called animation? Daunting though it may seem, animation is an easy concept to grasp. It's all magic. Smoke, mirrors, illusions, all devised to trick your brain into thinking that it's actually seeing movement. Similarly to normal videos, all you're really seeing are pictures, all being played one after another in such rapid succession that you don't even realize they're pictures. Now, what makes it special are the people that make it and what they make it for. You may recognize such commercial powerhouse names as Walt Disney, Universal, Pixar, and Sony, who all possess the accolades of producing such renowned titles as The Lion King, The Grinch, Toy Story, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, respectively. So, you now know a little bit of the secret behind the trick, as well as some of the magicians. But what about the magic wand? Now, the tools and resources behind the actual making of animated media will be important to you, I imagine, since all of you have to have the financial aspects in consideration. Now, two of these simple categories that we use are traditional, which simply means that the frames are made by hand on a physical medium such as paper, as well as digital, which, as you expect, utilizes a computer and a plethora of available software. Now, both are capable of the same things, mind you, they merely do them with different set of tools. It's ultimately up to the animator's discretion, as well as their client's desires, as to which one is inevitably used. So now we have a basic understanding of animation, so we can delve a bit deeper into one of the more specific classifications, 2D animation. Now, two-dimensional animation is one of the earliest forms of animated production that still maintains its relevance to this day due to its stylistic appeal when utilized well. It is likely the kind of animation that most people, maybe some of you included, are exposed to and familiar with given its long-standing history and relative ease of production. I say relative here because the difficulty and quality of the animation as a whole can be exponentially increased depending on the desired end product. Now, an experienced animator will know how to properly utilize lighting and perspective to make an image seem to jump out of its page, exuding more life and moving with as much energy as a playful child. Now, where you often see 2D being used most is when expressing narratives that involve a predominantly fantastical setting. Now, this permits an animator to use far more exaggerated movements that may not necessarily be as appealing when implemented in 3D. I could go on, but let us instead move on to a bit of the business side of things. I'm sure some of you are familiar that 2D animation, revolutionized by Walt Disney, brought international fame to the studio. The feats of these powerhouses are ones that Jamaica could learn from and then strategize for their own success. Much like with Hollywood actors, animated characters can easily become globally recognized names that bring attention to their creators. It's safe to say that more people know who Mickey Mouse is than those who don't, and popularity can be monetized. Even if that isn't our goal, animation can also be used as visual aids, whether it's animated music videos to accent a popular new reggae song, a film to showcase a popular piece of local folklore or an original story, or an informative production to entice tourists with visual representations of restaurants, hotels, or other recreational activities. To borrow from the inspiration of Ivanovsky, an animator's job is to make an experience beautiful for its viewer. And tell me you didn't find anything you saw in that video earlier to be beautiful. Citizens of our very own Jamaica are capable of producing media like this, but have almost nowhere locally to direct all that talent. We can be that outlet. That isn't only true for 2D animation, but for 3D as well, which has been growing in popularity as of late. Now, 3D animation introduces, as you can guess, the concept of depth in a literal sense, meaning that the objects and movements that we now see in 2D now exist within a three-dimensional space. Now, 3D is exclusively created digitally, except for stop-motion animation, because it utilizes virtual 3D models that are able to move within a virtual space. Now, therefore, this allows for a replication of reality that one could even visualize happening right in front of them. Now, what is best to understand is that the same ventures and economic benefits that 2D offers to us are shared with 3D as well, though it is best to utilize each one where they can make the most visual impact. Now, where 3D tends to thrive more effectively is showcasing complex objects, effects, and intricate movements to give the viewer a more visually stimulating experience, whereas the exaggerated appearance of 2D may seem a bit off-putting to some mature audiences. Now, its appeal does of course differ from person to person, but it'd be on our best short-term interest at the very least to take advantage of the trends that already exist, rather than try to break a mold that we don't even fit inside of yet. Well, there's certainly a lot of information to be taken away from this discussion that we're having. Animation as a whole is a complex concept to tackle if you aren't prepared or don't know how to approach. But what I can say for certain, as I said in the beginning and will say again, is that given the versatility that exists in animation, there are a number of ventures that can be benefited from in regards to Jamaica's tourism industry once its citizens are made aware of the art form and its potential in an international and cross-industrial setting. While I do hope that my words here today have a lasting effect upon you who are in attendance, I pray even more that the next time I tell a stranger on the street that I do animation, they will look upon me with excitement and discuss their favorite character or show, rather than look at me with a face filled with confusion. Thank you again for having me here. That is the end of my discussion.